All right, everybody. Welcome to the Alternatives to Adobe or Adobe Alternatives workshop. And today I'm going to be talking about a few, but there are so many and it's really amazing. And as much as I do love Adobe products, there is a cost to it, right? It's like $53 a month or something for a cloud subscription. And then if you get the whole package, for the year, it's even more. I mean, so again, trying to keep your costs down and think about some maybe open source alternatives and stuff is kind of one of those things today. And there's absolutely no way I can cover all of them. So I'm just kind of picking and choosing some that will at least get you started to try different stuff. That being said, there are a lot more that are that cost a little bit of money, and so I'm trying to really do more of the free ones today, and then kind of mention those ones that may have a little bit of a fee that kind of joins in. So I actually have done full workshops on Adobe options for like different apps. And so like if you're looking for app-based stuff, my favorite Adobe alternative app is Procreate. It's an animation app, and I won't go into that one today because again, that's like its own one that I covered in the animation tutorial. But Adobe versus Procreate, each of them are good for their own reasons, right? So Procreate's got Adobe Animate Beat, if you ask me. But that being the case, one of the ones that I want to talk about today is actually on my phone. So I'm going to start with that one. It's basically a journaling app called Paper, and you can draw in it and you can kind of doodle. And since I'm a doodler and I always forget to bring notebooks and stuff with me, the best option for me is to use one of these. Plus, you can kind of customize it, so it's a bit better than like notes on your phone because you can be more creative with it. And so, I'm assuming that you're here because you also love kind of that creative part of it. So, let me share my phone screen. Hopefully, it will behave for me, and we'll just take a look real quick at Paper, which is by WeTransfer, and it's free. They also have a different option that's like a pro account, which is great. But just for today, I'm just going to show you kind of what it would be for the free one. Okay, so this is Adobe Paper, and or this is Paper. And so this is my Adobe alternative to taking notes or doing something like an Adobe Pro DC or something. And so if you open this up, you can create a journal and you can add pages to your journal. And so by doing this, you're actually able to make your own layout. And then once you start working in your journal, you get all of these neat little stencils and stylus tools so that you can, again, do a bunch of different things. And so like, if I just have like the pencil tool here, I can change my colors and I can start doodling. And it's easier to do actually if you're using it for like a pen tool or something like that. But so if you just want to start taking notes, you could also do that, or you can just kind of make some changes to your notes here, or just kind of do some doodling. And so this is kind of one of those little apps that you can change the color of your journal. You can add different things to it, or you can even make different changes to your notebook as you go. And so there's some different custom settings. You can change the colors of what you're doing. And so there may be a bit of a lag when I'm streaming it, but again, changing the colors of your stylus and then just doing something with your notes is another way for you to just kind of be a little more creative in the way that you take notes. I tend to prefer to kind of do some doodling while I write. And so having some different brush options and stuff will allow me to kind of sketch something out. It's also really great if you go to like a museum or something and want to do some sort of doodle and you don't have your big iPad with you with your stylus or something. You can just go in and kind of do a quick form or something. I'm always trying to express my ideas visually. And so just having something like this where you can kind of make some additional options is kind of fun. And so if you like it, you can go to the next page, right? And then you add something to your next page. And again, whatever you feel like doing, it's kind of a good way for you to kind of jot something down, and maybe it's a little bit more fun than typing something. And so again, this is just kind of a basic note-taking app, but it's a little bit more fun, and then you can kind of customize them and upload them too. So you can add different ones. You can also bring in images to it. So that's another thing that you can add, and you can also look at some of the different formats. They have a bunch of different settings that you can use to make sure that you have what you want for like kind of a customized look, or if any different kinds of, different kinds of options for setting up a new canvas. So some people can get really elaborate with this, but if nothing else, it's just a different option that kind of gets you a little bit more freedom than you'd have if you were just using notes in your phone. And so that's one of the free tools that I recommend you just trying out if you want to do something like that. And so since that was the only phone one that I wanted to talk about for this part, unless people have questions, I will end that screen share, and I'll let y'all take a look at my screen on my computer because it'll be a little bit better. And so that's one of them. And if you want to do Procreate, I have that on my iPad, and we can look at that too. But the ones that I want to show you on my desktop screen are actually, they're related to different things. One of them is an alternative to Adobe Premiere Pro. So if you've ever done any video editing and stuff, Premiere Pro is pretty powerful, but again, it can be its own animal. And there's actually some industry software that's pretty neat, and it's called DaVinci Resolve, and it's free. So DaVinci Resolve, let me pull it up for you. It looks and feels like Premiere. And so you can even choose which other type of software you're most familiar with, and they'll customize your dashboard to look close to that other software. So let's see, I'll just start a new project. And here we go. Hopefully y'all can see what's going on. Okay, so this is the doc and everything for DaVinci Resolve. So as you can see, it looks and feels a lot like Premiere because I set it up to be that way. You could have also asked for like Final Cut Pro to be the one that you wanted or something. The other thing that's really nice about it is it feels and works a lot like Premiere. So you drag something into your media file here. And so now you have it looking like you would in your media cache. And now if you drag it onto your timeline here, you can start making changes to it the way you would in your Adobe Premiere file. And so over here on the side, if you see, we have all the different effects and things that you can add. And if I wanted to, let's say, just like drag an effect onto here, it works the same way it would in Premiere Pro. And so then if you come over to the sidebar here, you can start making changes to all of those different effects. And so going over here and doing different kinds of setups, we have different tools that you can use. And so if digital glitch is what I want, we're going to go over here and we're going to kind of make changes to all of those and see kind of how you want to do it. And so now that we have all of these different ones, you can go over here and you open up your inspector tool, and then you start changing your effects. So right now I have it on digital glitch. If I wanted to up or do some of these different things, you start changing them around. And as you start adding more changes to it, after that, you can start making different changes to it. And you can also do things to your video, such as changing how your zoom looks, how your lens correction is and stuff. And so being able to kind of adjust all of your different platforms here is really kind of a nice effect. There's also audio options too for different audio effects. And so this has pretty much the functionality of Premiere with a little bit less of the workaround. And so if you're looking for something kind of that is as powerful as Premiere, but not Premiere, I would suggest this over Final Cut Pro, just because, again, this inspector tool allows you to do a whole lot more with it. And so as you're going through it, again, you'll start to see a lot more similarities to it, even just the toolbars over here to the side. If you want to start muting, cropping, doing stuff like that, we have plenty of options that we can use. And you start getting a pretty good sense of how all of these things work together. So DaVinci Resolve, if you're doing video stuff, is probably your best bet. But if we're talking about audio, again, you can also do a lot of audio things in this software, just like you can Premiere Pro. But if we're talking about trying to get the same effects as like, doing something using like the Adobe audio products, you're going to want to probably move into something like Audacity. If you've ever heard of Audacity, Audacity has some really cool effects that will allow you to do all of your editing work. And the only thing that you're going to be missing is that you won't have dynamic link. If you've used a lot of Adobe products before, they talk to each other, and you could have this live dynamic link from like Adobe After Effects to Adobe Premiere or back and forth. Same thing with like all of the Adobe Audition stuff. You can move in and out of Premiere. So the only kind of thing that you're losing when you're working with something like Audition and you're working with something like DaVinci is that you don't have that dynamic link function. You're going to have to move them in and out because it's two different products. That being said, you have free accounts to them. You don't have to worry about nearly as much. So DaVinci Resolve is for your video. And now we're going to go into Audacity so that you can see what it's like to do something with the audio that's similar to what you would do in your Adobe products. So Adobe has a pretty good audio, professional audio option again, but Audacity can do plenty. And one of the things that I really love about Audacity is there's this thing called pitch changer. You can actually change you can change your tone of your project or whatever without making your voice sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. So just to give you a sense of this, if I just like pulled in a file or something of audio or recorded a piece of audio, I could drop something in here and change how fast or slowly it goes. And so let's see if I just, for those of you who are familiar with a lot of free music sites, then Sound is a good one. If you just want to download something for us to play with, we'll just download this ukulele thing and we'll just change the pitch of it. So right now I've got a new audio download, drop it in. Now we have an MP3 in Audacity. Looks just like you would in Adobe Audition. And then you can make different changes to this pitch just based on how you want to do it. And so different effects here. And so you can change different stuff and different contrasts. But then there's all of these things. And so these effects are actually way more powerful, if you ask me, because it allows you to do some different, more creative types of things, where the other one feels a little bit more like professional software in a way that doesn't give you as many creative like drop-in filters and stuff. So if I wanted to change the speed or the tempo or the pitch of this ukulele music here, I could just go in and I could change the pitch, and then I would be able to say, all right, so we're going to change this pitch here, and we're going to go in and, change the speed, and then select your clips, change your speed, and it'll start sounding a lot different. So again, we have all of these different kinds of toggles here. So if we move this here, our sample audio, which I'm going to try to make sure it's not going to blow your eardrums out. All right, so that is our slow version. Let's change that speed again. Let's make it super duper fast. Okay, so some interesting stuff, but the other thing you can do is you can change the pitch of it. So this is really helpful if for some reason you kind of want to do something that's in a certain key, or maybe you want to try to get something to sound a little bit different this way. You can make a few changes. So we're going from one key to a different key, and we'll see how it sounds. It could sound terrible, we'll see. I confess that I actually had to do this one time with my own voice, because I was doing this recording for a conference, and I realized that I was just like 1 minute under the amount of time that they wanted. And so I actually slowed it down just enough that it hit that mark, and I felt better about it without having to re-record the entire thing. They never knew the difference. They just thought I spoke with a slower Southern accent than I currently do. So whatever works. But so yeah, if you want to use Audacity for these types of things, this is actually a really easy piece of software to use, and it will do everything from those types of things to making just transitions on your audio tracks and stuff. And it gives you enough functionality with a bit more creativity than Adobe Audition. We're going to stick with audio for just a second, because if you are thinking about these kinds of things though, and you have a Mac, then you should definitely use GarageBand. And I don't know if that's one that you're familiar with, but GarageBand is really professional work, and I tend to use it because it has all of these different kind of like sample tracks. And so if you're looking for sample music or you want to create your own thing, you can, again, create a brand new sample track of something. And let's say we want some instruments here instead. You could also do podcasting from here, which is really great. Again, one of those other things that you can do. But so hang on, I think we actually have a. Yeah, we're talking. Yeah, we're having a workshop. Yeah, we're talking about Adobe Alternatives. So yeah, so feel free to hang out for a minute. And so anyway, this is like a keyboard that you can use to actually make music with. There are also all of these really cool drum kit packs and everything else that's happening. So so anyway, that is another thing that you can do, which is to talk to different people about it. So hang on just a second. But yeah, GarageBand is really fun, especially if you're a musician like myself. So between GarageBand and Audition, they're free, and you have this opportunity to kind of try those two things. So those are some audio options, but there are plenty of other ones. And then to look at, sorry, I think there was a visitor coming through getting a tour. I thought they might have been here for the workshop, but okay. So the other thing that I was going to show y'all is some sketching and some drawing options. And so some of those that are free, there's one called Sketchpad.io, and it's really straightforward, but it's also kind of nice. So if you just want to do some sort of doodling or something that has a little bit of functionality, and again, kind of gives you an alternative to maybe like Photoshop or Illustrator, having just kind of a blank canvas to do some stuff with, add some text to something. These are all ways that you can, again, make some challenges here for yourself without having to spend a whole lot of money, right? And you know, the font kit, it's okay, right? It's about what you'd expect, but not bad. And so you could add some sample text here, and you could just like, you know, try this, resize it, move it around. And again, it's not going to have the same level of, you know, kind of every single thing, but it works pretty well, especially if you just need to add some layers or something, and you know, add something additional here or there. You could drop some photos in it behind you. It even has this really interesting kind of this layer thing that you can do where you can load all these different emojis. So if you're just making something for like social media and you want to do something that's a bit out of the ordinary, you could maybe try this as well. You know, something like this you could drop in as some sort of backdrop into like Canva or something. And so now we have a random graphic, right? And now we have some sort of thing that we can kind of go in and tweak. And then you could kind of do some of these other different settings, and then you just export it here, either as you get options, you get JPEG, PNG. And again, having this option to create like a PNG with a, you know, an invisible background or something is actually kind of a good opportunity to do something a little bit more advanced. And so that being the case, you do have this kind of history account here where you can actually go back and take away individual pieces. This is something you don't see in a lot of the other free open source type of software, is this way to backtrack the way that you can in Photoshop. And so it won't clear your history for the first few moves. And so if you decide you want to undo something, it's really easy to take something away and then change it around. So yeah, it's a good free option, and it's all web-based, so you don't have to download anything to get to it, which is nice because it saves you from having to use up all of your precious hard drive space. Another thing that's kind of cool, and this is the one that I like the best, it's actually been highly ranked lately, is called Krita, and you do have to download it, right? But it is it's free, and it's actually really fun if you're looking for something that you can actually do design work with. Because I like the brushes to kind of think about the things that are the best part of this. I like the brush presets because it feels like you have a whole lot more options, because this is really more for like cartoon and anime types of design. And so you have a lot of of different kinds of things, as well as some interesting palette options. So Krita is good, it's free. And again, choosing a different kind of a brush stroke, it gives you a different set of options here and tools that you can kind of customize. And so you don't have to be as good with like your stylus to do this. And so you can do this on your desktop, and it's just another way for you to kind of experiment, as well as, you know, save yourself a little bit of trouble on the front end when you're creating something. So based on what you want to do, this might be a good solution. They have plenty of different options here. So again, you have all of these different color wheel things. It's a little bit different, and at first it feels a bit clunky to kind of use, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually really fun. You can again, you can do a whole lot that's a little bit more engaged, especially if you have like one of those tablets that you can connect to your laptop to use as a stylus. But yeah, it's actually a pretty nice piece of software, because again, you have some different options compared to maybe some of the other ones that you would, again, maybe pay $3 for, right, on the App Store. But to have something that's a bit different, this is a good one. And so again, you can kind of do some sample colors and stuff, all of these tools that you're familiar with on Adobe, plus a little bit more that's kind of more geared toward animators themselves. And so as you see, we have all these different layers. You can unlock your layers, you can rearrange your layers, and it gives you plenty of different options. The hardest part for me is that once you have those shortcut keys down for Adobe, they don't really transfer. So I can't do the same shortcut keys on this type of software, but I am able to kind of make a bunch of different changes without having to have my iPad handy, or to be able to see things that I may want to make changes to later. So definitely worth checking out Krita, especially if you're really into kind of drawing and wanting to try to find something that feels a bit more like maybe an in-between from Adobe Photoshop and Procreate. So this would be one of the ones that I think would actually be a little bit more advanced than some of the other things. And just as with most of them too, you know, again, you get a bunch of export options, you get a bunch of setting options here. These are those brushes that I was talking about. So if you've ever customized your own brush palettes and stuff before, these are really important, especially if you're trying to do a bunch of like digital drawing. So these patterns and things that they have, they work really well, actually. So these are a lot of things so that you don't, again, have to start from scratch. You can kind of pick some of these things out, build off of them. You can change some of the things that you're doing and the spacing. The pressure one's really good because, again, if you're using a different kind of stylus and you want some really in-depth work, this is where you really want to spend your time, is customizing all of this. So once you get your tools set up, you're home free. So Krita is the one that's getting a lot of attention right now, and I've seen some really cool work, particularly stuff that you might want to look a little bit more sketched out, but digital. So that's another good one for you. So as far as something that's an alternative to, for instance, Lightroom. So if you think about why people use Lightroom over like Bridge or over Photoshop, is because there's this cataloging kind of component to it. That being said, there's some really amazing open source software that allows you to do metadata searching and cataloging that would be more robust than Lightroom, as long as you have your own hard drive space to store it on. So let's say you're a photographer and you want to have a digital catalog, but you also want it to be publicly accessible, and you're not into all the compression that happens on OneDrive or Flickr or something. What I'm showing you now is a software piece that's called Resource Space. And it's basically a front-facing website that you can then convert and use as your cataloging software for free, as long as you point it at some sort of repository where you can hold it. And it allows you all of these different functionalities that will make you kind of the owner of your own database. And it could be digital because it's digital hosted. And it was actually built by a group of different people who really wanted to be able to integrate things like metadata for photography or different kinds of search functionalities without just having kind of that storage space. So if you think about something like OneDrive or Box or something like that, you may know how your catalog works in it. But again, the way in which like the search features in Lightroom and the metadata parts of Lightroom where you can fill in who created the picture or what the date was, and it stores it according to those types of things. Resource Space allows you that kind of front-facing search functionality that you could then drop onto your own website or something for free. The other thing about Resource Space is it has different permission levels. So like if you are, a professional photographer and you're taking pictures at weddings, or even if you're, a designer and wanting to use this to share things with clients and stuff, you can actually customize the permissions levels and the duration of how long they can access these files and stuff. And it also allows you to do it with multiple different types of resources. So it could be photo, it could be video, it could be PDFs, whatever it is you're working with, you get to choose those kinds of things. And I'm going to show you the site that actually we use, which we built over the course of quite a long focus grouping process with this open source software. And the reason we did this is because the College of Arts and Architecture has about 600 events a year, and we take pictures at a lot of those things, and we take all kinds of other pictures. And I have all of these interns out taking pictures. So it's not just my catalog, it's their catalogs as well. And so we built out our system using this open source software because it's not subscription plan based. So again, with this whole free alternatives thing, if you're actually wanting to do something that's free, having this be your host means that you don't have to worry about covering that subscription fee every year. And if you're hosting it privately on your own stuff, you don't need to pay for cloud storage, right? So if you have this connected to your hard drive, it all lives there and it can be accessible by you. And so just to give you a sense, this is our search criteria. We have everything toggle based, so you don't have operator error typing things. And so we built out this whole grid of things that you can type for, different subject matters and stuff. There's also an advanced search feature where you can check on all of these different boxes. These are the same things that you would also find on our upload screen. And so then there are all these different catalogs that you have. And so this actually beats Adobe Lightroom for $0 if you want to take the time to make this your own customizable dashboard. And just to give you a sense, all of our photos that come through here have public collections and stuff. And so if we wanted to just go to one Mardi Gras concert 2019, you can see that you have all these different download size options too. So this is a public facing page, which means that anybody from a news organization or anyone at all that has this website can go in here and download all of these things at different sizes and use them. You get all of your caption information, you get all of your photographer credit and all of these things. So if you're running something that's a bit more robust, like a photography studio, or maybe working with a bunch of different news groups as like a freelance, photographer or something, you could set all of your permissions to share directly with somebody or to be publicly accessible. That being said, there's a lot of front end work on this, but again, zero cost. And once it works, it works. And it makes a huge difference with getting your work visible. So highly suggest looking at something like Resource Space. There are a couple of other ones out there on the market that we tested. This just happened to be the one that worked the most for us. You can also do bulk uploads and bulk file renaming. So you know how you can go in and export an entire album? It's the same way. But again, it kind of avoids that step. So if you're editing your photos in some other type of software, you could drop all of them in here as JPEGs, and then they pull in that metadata that you maybe plugged into whatever software you're using. So Resource Space works really well with Lightroom, but you could also use it in place of Lightroom if you really wanted just the cataloging functionality. Okay, so that is the one that I wanted to make sure you saw on here. Another one that I want to just point out, because it's free and it's kind of this repository, and it is an Adobe product, but it's beyond kind of just regular Adobe, because again, it's front facing, and it kind of feels like Pinterest for professionals. If you've never used Behance, it's actually a great place to also share your work without having to pay for the cost of Adobe. You can actually look on here and find a bunch of different artistic inspiration from different things. And so this is another one of those things that's actually kind of neat for networking and connecting with other artists. And so I definitely recommend you checking out Behance if you are somebody who kind of just wants to get more inspired by other people's work. This is a good way to do something like that. And so this works really well, and it kind of gives you a sense of some of what's out there on top of that. And another thing that I do want to kind of mention is that when you're looking for these types of different apps, you want to make sure that the ones that you're searching for or trying to add on are the ones that maybe have either like a free trial to make sure you like it before you actually pay for them. Because if you just go on, for instance, and you just search for like, you know, creative apps, creative free apps, here you go. You get such a very long list of all types of different things, and you need to be able to make sure that those are still free, because what happens in the world of creative apps and stuff like that is at first they start out free, right? Because they've been built on open source software, or people are just starting to try to get you involved with them. And then afterwards, you know, if you try to pick one of these ones that's maybe like a couple of years old, it's going to be about $10 or $12 after you get it. And so it may have been free right when they started, but the odds of them still being free are not. And so making sure that you find the most recent kind of list is actually a more important thing to do for it. So like, you know, Creative Free Apps 2022, right? Here are a bunch of open source ones, right? And so the kind of key word there is open source, because again, we're just trying to find the newest thing that's happening, because a lot of times the older apps and things like that are not going to be as functional on your devices. But that being the case, if you have an older version, you may not be able to download some of these. So don't buy it unless you know it's actually going to be working with your system. So this one also says Krita. So again, you have a bunch of different options. But so the other types of things that you can start kind of looking for when you're trying to choose are the ones that you think are going to allow you to do what it is you want to do. So I can show you different apps all day long, but if you're hunting for something that you know you want to do podcasting, and you need to know which one's going to be the most cooperative with a Mac, or you need to know which one's going to be the one that actually works best with an external microphone, or you know, things like that, you need to go in and you need to check the reviews on the app. Because again, just because it's free doesn't mean it's all the same quality. And that's the only risk you run with like taking a look at different open source types of things, is that you don't have this opportunity to kind of, you know, have the same level of R&D, right? The research and development on these Adobe products, and, you know, the focus grouping things that happen, it provides you with a whole lot more on the front end, so you know it works well. But when you're searching for like open source things, it can get a little bit more complicated. The last thing that I want to show you, which is kind of a comprehensive piece of software, which is really, you know, it's probably my favorite thing that I'm playing with right now, is OBS Studio. Because OBS Studio allows you to do live streaming. And really one of the things that's becoming such a major deal is being able to offer video and live stream content, especially if you're going to be doing like social media. And so in what I do, OBS is actually probably the best thing for kind of the types of things that I'm also trying to accomplish for my work, because I'm trying to basically figure out ways that all of my things can be delivered. And so I think I just downloaded a new version of it. Let me find it for you, just a sec. But yeah, OBS is actually really great. And it basically takes you from having like, you know, having just like one thing from like a Zoom stream to being able to actually do it as a, you know, like as an entire new studio. And so that's the real difference for me. And so let me see if I can pull up OBS for you so that you can find it. And OBS is, I mean, it's technically probably easiest to use with a Mac, but if I can get us to it, this is what you'll need to do. So OBS Studio, you can download it for the Mac, you can download it for Windows. I prefer to use it with a Mac. I do a PC at home, but again, it's not that big of a problem, because it will work with both. And so don't know why it is not pulling up. So I'm going to open a new version of it. Why not? And so as you're thinking about this, you know, depending on how you want to do this, you're going to need all of those media clips and stuff that you would use for like a Premiere file or something. And so being able to do that. Oh yeah, Courtney likes OBS too. Yeah, I was using this thing called StreamYard, and StreamYard's free, and it's super easy for somebody who just wants to like get out there and stream. we've raised lots of money for Giving Tuesday actually before, just because we decided we wanted to have, you know, a live stream, and we didn't have the time to train the people who were going to be doing it with OBS, because OBS is a little bit higher function platform. But so here's something I did just the other day. I dropped in a bunch of stuff, and now I have this kind of virtual space, and I have a preview of what's about to go live. And so like right now, I just have this image or something that I pulled in. If I wanted to, I could change it to a video, or I could move this out of the way. What you're seeing is you're seeing a preview here. And then you could do transitions where you fade in. So here's what you'd actually be seeing. And you could connect this to YouTube. You could connect this to a Twitch stream. And so those people who have like really professional types of looking content where you can queue everything up, this is what they're using, right? And they're doing this for free. And so it's actually really great because you have these different options. And so if I wanted to just like drop in a piece of media on here, you could actually hit play and it would turn into your newscast on this side. And so if I actually wanted to do like a virtual thing with like with my YouTube channel or something, you could monitor everything from this one space. Let's see if it'll let me. Is my Wi-Fi going to be strong enough? Dun, dun, dun. And as you can see, we have all of our audio and stuff here too. So depending on what you actually want to do with it, this might actually be a fun opportunity for you. Yep. Manage our broadcast. And this is great too, because you can kind of choose which option you want here. And so again, if you're trying to get something out live, you know, this is something that Adobe doesn't offer you, right? And so you get to kind of connect again, and this talks really well with other different kinds of streaming services and stuff like that. And so we're ready to go on this one. We could even do 360 video, which would be kind of great. And so for me, that's kind of key because we're doing a lot more of those kinds of things now. And so then if I dropped onto my YouTube channel, we could actually start moving stuff over and have a live stream going on while I queue things up. So I'm on my channel here. I can go in and here we go. Close this out. Now we have all of our OBS stuff going on, and we can start streaming from here and be able to do some really cool things. If I can make this move out of the way. And here. Okay. Move my dock out here. There we go. We're good. And so now if we wanted to actually start streaming to YouTube, we could even bring in our camera. We could manage our broadcast from here, and then we'd be able to start pushing stuff out and, you know, doing something a bit more exciting than just kind of worrying about kind of having some editing going on. We could do something live and do something fun. And so here's our stream information. You could change everything here to make sure that it's working. And again, this is kind of the future of free stuff. A lot of bands even use this because, again, they want to kind of get their content out. And so you can connect this directly to a mixing board, and you could do all of your live mixing from here too. And you don't need Audacity, you don't need any other kinds of stuff if what you're trying to do is create like a free thing that kind of blends all of those together and gives you also the kind of ability that you can have with like QLab. And so again, more free software, more fun things to try, but OBS is super powerful. And if you're already kind of to that point, it's the next thing for you to kind of try out. Oh yeah, so yes, Streamlab is also good, but yeah, it is just streaming. OBS, you have so many different things that you can kind of do. And so, you know, again, just having these kinds of different recording things that you can make, you can also do like timed recordings. And so you could release them as premieres and stuff like that. So it will allow you to do some of that capture stuff that you wouldn't necessarily get otherwise. And so these are the ones that, that I love the most. But again, there are so many different ones based on what it is you want to try. So that being the case, I'll stop here in case people have questions or want to share some of their own. Courtney, maybe you even have some that you like, but I'll stop my share, and then maybe we could even answer some questions about some other ones, because again, this is one of those things where it's so limitless, and depending on what you actually want to do, you know, we could take this conversation in a lot of different directions. So Does anyone have any questions maybe about what it is that you're doing, or how are you using these kinds of products? Yeah, just wanting to see what else is out there. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool place to be in because you have the free Adobe accounts, right? So you can try them, and they have so many different things that you can use for them. But like, why not see what else is out there? A lot of times the different updates too between each of the different versions of Adobe, the changes are so minor that there's very little growth in terms of how that software rolls out every year or two. And so, you know, the different versions of things, they don't really allow you to grow. And I feel like some of these newer pieces are actually way more innovative because they don't have that same expectation to be consistent among their users, you know? So yeah, sometimes it's just more exciting. I have all these friends who are like programmers and software engineers and stuff, and they're always working on really cool projects. And so a lot of these things happen as like startups or just artists knowing that they aren't getting what they want from some of these other tools. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. I mean, Photoshop has not changed that much in the course of all of this. If you're looking for adventurous things in Adobe particularly, right? Like, let's say we know what the threshold is for stuff like Photoshop or things. If you want to see where Adobe's being innovative, Adobe Express has been pretty good because it's like Adobe Spark, but so it feels like Canva. But then there are also, there are these beta versions of Adobe stuff. And so like there are these like 3D rendering types of software. And then there are all of these like things like Adobe Fresco, which allow you to kind of be creative. They're app-based. But Adobe Fresco is really fun. There are a whole bunch of things like that feel a little bit more like kind of creative apps that are less for designers. They're just more about kind of testing out some new things that maybe I could see them rolling into something else, but at the same time, Adobe's beta stuff is actually doing a lot more, kind of creative things than some of the others. I see some questions in the chat. Just a second. Okay. Hi, Jenny. Thank you. Oh, yes. The question was, that what types of other things are there to do because Adobe products aren't changing as much between version to version. And so it was kind of part of the problem with the Adobe software is that like from Adobe Photoshop 5 to now, there haven't been a lot of updates. And so it's kind of limiting the potential of how these artists are working. Which is why some of these newer apps, they don't have as much expectation on them. And so it's actually making people be more creative because there are different tools that allow that. Yeah. Did you have any questions? Oh, here's Courtney. It's a paid for app one-time. Clip Studio Paint, yeah, is great for digital drawing as well as animation. Oh, wait for the Cyber Monday sale, she says, when it goes on very cheap. Yeah, so it's like Procreate, but it's Mac PC and tablets. All right, so which one is that? That is Clip Studio Paint. Awesome. So we've got another one here. Let me add this.
Stephanie, also, are you familiar with the program Figma by chance?
Figma? No. Which one's that?
Oh,
here it is. Okay.
Yeah, it's more of a UI tool, but you can create and collaborate in real time and do prototypes. But that's also a free service.
Yeah, no, this is great. No, this
I'm sure there's an upgrade option, more of like a pro plan, but I know that there's the free portion is pretty robust.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like, finding a free one that actually does what you want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah, Adobe XD. And again, Adobe XD, I don't find it to be as useful for kind of, I don't know, if I'm doing layouts like storyboarding and stuff, I like it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like what you're saying too, some of these other ones, that sounds really cool because it sounds like a nice combination piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it offers some of the CSS coding for the prototype that you would create. It would offer the HTML and CSS. I don't know if that would like help a programmer, but it's just cool to see some of the hex codes involved and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. And another one of those things where it's like kind of collaborative workspaces. Canva's Pro account actually allows you to do a lot of cool collaborative things. The kind of free version of Canva is kind of more just like, let's create an Instagram story or something. But the Canva Pro account actually has a lot of really cool templates. And we actually use that too as kind of like a place that we can kind of store and, you know, kind of share different types of things for like social media campaigns or design campaigns and stuff, because it also lets you store a bunch of digital assets in it, and then you can all access it. So the Canva Pro account is actually also kind of a nice way to kind of, again, combine design essentials with sharing. Yeah.
Cool.
I like that one too. Another thing that's just kind of fun if you just are kind of wanting to try something that's got a nice, robust free tutorial is FL Studio. If you ever just want to like get in there and see about making some beats or doing something kind of different and audio based, if you're tired of downloading all of the free things and converting things from YouTube onto your MP3 converter, you have all of these different sample packs that you can get for free from FL Studio. And so you can download a lot of different stuff and try it and just see if you like it before you pay, because it is a pretty steep price if you're going to have a you know, FL Studio purchase. But that being the case, you own it forever. You don't actually have to you don't have to buy a subscription for FL Studio. But FL Studio, which used to be called Fruity Loops, that's another one of those really cool kind of interfaces that's web-based, and you don't have to like, you know, you don't have to pay for the free trial version. Yeah, there are also a bunch of different photo editing kind of apps and stuff. Does anybody have a favorite one that they're using? I know there are some photo editing like filters and stuff like that. Is there anything particular that y'all are using?
I mean, I stick to Lightroom and Adobe programs, which is why I joined this to see what alternatives there are.
Yeah. Well, so a couple of my students do a lot of like they're kind of like social media influencers and stuff. And so they do a lot of their photo editing like on their phone and stuff. And so a lot of the things that they're trying to do, let me see, some of the ones that they actually like. I mean, Lightroom Mobile's great, but at the same time, it takes a lot of memory.
Right.
And so that's
I use Snapseed and then Visco too for mobile apps.
Yeah, the nice thing about Visco is you can actually you know, save your presets, which is also kind of cool if you're into that. And so let's see, I have one intern and she tends to she even sells her own presets now that she's also created on some of these as well. And so she uses this one, PixLR. Have you seen this one before?
No.
Okay, let me drop it in the chat. And so she uses this one, and it's really a lot of it's a free photo editor, and it's actually really it's pretty nice, and you can get a lot done pretty quickly on it. And so if you really want just to have some different templates, this has some kind of neat design templates and stuff for you. So PixLR is kind of, you know, kind of fun for that type of thing, especially if you're trying to do something that's, you know, kind of a stored filter that you can kind of try and then be able to kind of reset that one every now and then without having to go in and make sure that your Lightroom presets are just how they are. So it's got pretty good functionality for social too.
Yeah.
Which one is it? Photopea.com. Nice. Okay.
So it's probably one of the most powerful, recreations that I've seen in this.
Nice. Have you ever, so Cookie mentioned GIMP. Oh my gosh, Cookie, you threw me back to like my days in graphic design. Oh, Wow, GIMP. I haven't heard about GIMP in a while. That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't used it in a while, but you know, that was like, it was like GIMP and Quark. Remember, like those were the ones that really kind of got people, you know, started. I don't know if you did Quark, but yeah, Quark was so cool. It was really like, I think we had a funeral for it after it finally died. But yeah, this idea of like, how can we get something that, yeah, in freehand instead of Illustrator? Totally. I mean, this is the thing. There is always going to be one of those that kind of rivals it, and that's the only time you really see Adobe start really pushing boundaries with some of like their kind of trusted, tried and true apps, is when somebody that's one of these other competitors starts building this following, right? And I think that, you know, when you're looking at these kinds of apps, it's important to think about which ones are really good for all around stuff. And then which ones are good for maybe some of those things. And while that can be a little bit frustrating, you may have to kind of pick and choose. And so again, that's going to be knowing more about like reading those reviews, making sure that the newest up-to-date version doesn't have a whole lot of bugs. Because another thing is a lot of these things, you have to continually update them and upgrade them. And that's the thing, that's the only hesitation with some of these freer pieces of software, is that every time they bring out a new version, they're trying to fix those bugs as they go. So it's basically like design and improv at the same time or something, you know, so they're troubleshooting as they're getting customer feedback, right? Or user feedback. And so if you're going to be going with one of these platforms, make sure that there have been enough versions that you can kind of see where they're heading and that they have a plan moving forward, because there's nothing more frustrating than actually finding one of these ones that you love and then you can't continue to upgrade with it because maybe they've stopped doing it. Like making sure that it's something that is kind of not going to be obsolete in the next 6 months. It'll keep you from having to like jump from one to the other or have 17 different apps on your phone that are your kind of go-to apps. Does anybody else have anything or any thoughts? And everybody's welcome to, I know, Jenny, you're on Zoom, but you're welcome to come down with us. In my studio, we have like open studio time from now until like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whenever we get exhausted and our creativity finally hits that low and we need our sugar rush or whatever, because, oh yeah, Adobe Spark. Yeah, Adobe Spark has now like made it even fancier, and it's like Adobe Express, and it's like Canva Plus. It's really great. I love that one. And again, it's free. So yeah, Adobe Express, Adobe Spark, good stuff. But so in my studio, we have all of these different editing tablets that you can kind of try hands on, see if you like them. They connect in, like they're Wacom tablets. If you want to try those. We also have some photo lighting and stuff set up, and we can actually shoot direct into our computers, and we can try different software and stuff like that. So if you happen to be on campus and want to come downstairs, we're in Borland 27.
I wish I could. I'm a World Campus student. Otherwise, I would love to join.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, you can just hang on to the Zoom and we can Zoom you in.
Okay, cool.
Because yeah, I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff that we do in there, and so if nothing else, you can kind of see it, and we can share screens there. I think that we may have an iPad in the studio that you can check out and see. You know, if you want to kind of take a look at Procreate, I can take you a little bit further into that one. Awesome. And then yeah, so if you want to stay on the Zoom account, I can take you downstairs. Thanks, Courtney. I'm going to stop the recording.
All righty. Great session. I'll see you later.
Bye.